Hello and welcome. I'm Anna from thesubtleway.com. If you'd like to get in touch with me around any of these aspects or for deeper support, you can go through my website. You'll find the exact link in the description below. Also, feel free to ask any questions or comments in the comment section as well. So, I want to talk about the lungs and grief today. So, these practices are really helpful if you've got any sort of lung issues and lung congestion. And I want to look, though, a little bit more at the emotional, energetic side of the lungs, which is it's the space that holds grief. So, if you do have these lung issues and lung congestions, it can be worth asking if there's any unprocessed grief living within your system that may need to be released. It's not necessarily the case, but it may be there. So it can be worth just looking into that. And maybe it's time to allow some of that to surface and be processed if you feel like that's there. Okay, so in the chakra system, the lungs, also along with the heart, are governed by the heart chakra. And this is all connected to, our feelings of love, our love and all the relationships in our family life, our friendships, our relationship to our work, our environment, our home, all of those things. It's all about the relational field. And it's all about our capacity to receive love, to be loved, to feel love, and also when we lose love, when we have those losses, no matter what they are. I mean, we're all going to lose people we love. It's inevitable. But we also lose other things in lives. We might lose our livelihood. We might lose friendships, our jobs. If we're going through chronic illness, we can lose the way we used to live life. There can be a huge amount of grief going through this process. So being able to give space and time and acknowledgement to the grief, to allow that to move through, to be able to accept things the way that we are, we release a lot of the energy because it takes a huge amount of energy to block feelings. I mean, we don't want to be uncomfortable. We often don't want to acknowledge what we're feeling. But it actually takes a lot of energy to stop that because there's a lot of energy consumed by resistance to feeling or resistance to the way things are. So I hope that this practice gives you an opportunity to be with the way things are, to help stop consuming energy through fighting or resisting the way things are. So we're also going to be working with the Chinese Meridian system as well, because the lung meridian sort of runs from the chest and then comes up over, and it runs down the inside edge of the inside of the arm and off the thumb. So you might want to just do that little trace. That's that flow of energy we're working with. So I was inspired to do this video because I woke up 4:30 in the morning a few nights, and this is the time that the lung energy is most active in the meridian wheel. And it's sort of the same with the liver energy, that's sort of 1 to 3 a.m. So when there's either toxins, there's issues within the lung system, and I also mentioned the liver system, and it's not functioning properly, that can often be what wakes us up in the night. So sort of recognizing what time we're awake and waking up and when we can't get back to sleep can give us a little bit idea of what's being related to in the body. So I found myself waking up at this time and knowing that this is connected in with the lungs. I just sort of started doing some of these practices and bringing this awareness into my own lungs. And instantly I just had a huge amount of grief rise up to the surface. And so it gave me that opportunity just to be with it and feel into it and let myself move through it. So there's no way around grief or over it or under it. The only way through it is through it. And it's being with that uncomfortable emotion. But all emotions are beautiful. All emotions have the right to be felt and expressed as long as we do them in healthy ways and by giving space to express it and feel it and sense it. I was able to move through it and it passed and I was able to get back to sleep. But I also worked a little bit of helping support the energy movement through these little bit of meridian exercises I'm going to share with you today. So the first thing we're going to do is called flushing the meridians. This helps to move energy out of it. So when there's congestion, whether it's through the emotions that haven't been felt, or it's from we've got, mucus or an infection or something going on in the lungs, there's energy congested within the meridian as well. So we're going to help move that energy out and then put the healthy energy back in. So to do that, we're going to trace backwards on that meridian line, coming over the thumb, up and over, down to the lung. And I just like to give a little rub and a little tap there, and then shake it off. And then when we help put that energy in and get that energy flowing more nicely and energized, tracing it 3 times in its natural flow. So going up and over and along and off, and just doing that. So each time going a little bit slower. There's no rush here. Often a lot of things don't make much progress when we try and rush through them. So we just have to give ourselves a little bit of time here. And then going over to the other hand and going backwards up that one into the chest. And you can do that optional little tap there, just to help to get it to flush out. Give it a little shake, and then we'll go through the other way and shaking that off. And again, each time just slowing down a little bit more, giving it a little shake at the end of each run. And just shake that off a little bit. And then we're going to come and work with the neurolymphatic points for the lungs. So these are points when we stimulate them, it helps stimulate the lymphatic system to move the toxins out of that particular organ system. So for the lungs, we're going to start by just massaging down the sternum. So you might find some tenderness. I can feel a little bit of that need to cough. This might stimulate coughing, which is another good sign that you're actually starting to get some energy moving in there, and you kind of need that. And then we're going to come up, find the collarbones, then just going into that soft part between the collarbone and that first rib, and give a little rub in there. And so it can be good to use as much pressure as you can actually tolerate, because this really gets things stimulated and moving. And this particular point is actually connected with the kidney meridian, and it helps get our energy moving forward. And then get more deeply into the lungs. We're going to go over that first rib and into that intercostal space, giving a massage through there. So just notice if there's any tenderness. If there's tenderness, you want to come back to this later. You don't want to do too much at a time, but you could come back and do this a few times a day, or just for a while, doing it every day until you don't feel that tenderness anymore. Then going over the next rib, a little lower down, getting in there nice and deeply. And then going down over the next rib and rubbing in there as well. You might notice if you take a deep breath, there's a little bit more ease there now. And then you might want to just do another quick little rub and then just give it a shake off. And then we're going to keep working with our breath here, but we also want to bring a little bit more energy in. So we've got source points for the lungs, and these are a point on the meridian line that helps to bring extra energy into that particular system. So the source point for the lung, we're just going to go down our thumb into that wrist crease. So if you can see that there, just giving a little rub, a little massage. And you might notice if there's a little tenderness there as well. Another thing you can come back to and keep rubbing. You might find rubbing it for a couple of minutes and that tenderness goes away. Again, it's helping just get things moving in the lungs. I'm just giving both a little bit of a rub here right now, because we want to do both sides fairly equally. So the moment, just trying to open that and connect with that. And then we're going to use our middle fingers and bring one onto the wrist crease on one side, middle finger onto the other, opposite. So it's sort of giving this little pattern. So just letting those fingers rest in those source points, and then you can just let the hands settle down on the lap. So just letting them hold that position. And you don't have to push with pressure here. They're just a light touch, a light hold, and then just letting the hands be comfortable. And just know by holding this position, you're helping bring energy because of the electromagnetic connection in the body and bringing energy into that lung system. And then as you do this, just tuning now into the lungs themselves. We've already got some energy opening up and moving through that lung system. So that might be as much as you want to do. But here we just want to actually bring our awareness into the breath, into the lungs. And being aware of how the lungs expand and contract. Often we mostly feel the muscles within the rib cage, that intercostal muscles. That's where that movement comes from, as the ribs expand and contract, both in the front and the back. So keeping your fingers here, I just want to feel that sense like the whole lung is expanding out and up. And as it comes in and out, it's going into the back of the body, into the front of the body. There's actually, it tends to be a little bit more movement in the back of the body. If you're a woman and you're wearing a bra, you may want to remove that and allow that free movement of the space in here, if you've got the privacy and room to do that right now. Because often bras can be another thing. It can kind of trap the energy in this space, can stop the muscles from being able to work the way they're meant to. So we want to have that freedom from restriction to allow this movement through the body. And you might just want to take a little couple of movements from side to side just to allow to feel any openings there. And then another thing is we just want to maybe, if you know, we won't do that, just feel that movement. And then maybe taking a few breaths coming into the lower part of the lung. So here you can get a little bit more awareness through that base of the lung. And really see if you can exhale completely as well. And here you might feel a bit more movement of the diaphragm as it comes down and it opens the belly up and contracts again. And then coming into the middle of the lung, feeling that center area expand and contract. And then up into the top. So here as you tune into the lungs, might be where you particularly begin to feel some of the emotions that might be stored in those tissues. So giving them space to be felt. And then just coming back into the whole lung, breathing through that whole area. And not worrying too much about the inhale, but let the exhale be nice and complete, getting all the air out of the lung. We can get little bits of air sort of trapped in there because we can get a bit lazy with our exhales when we're not really thinking about our breath. And just allow yourself to soften into the breath as you're aware of that expansion and contraction, letting it find its own natural rhythm, feeling into your body. And just know that you're creating space and creating a relationship. And we're creating a loving relationship with our own body, our own lungs, by bringing in time and attention and allowing what has not been expressed or felt space to come to the surface, to be expressed or felt as needed in the time that is safe for you. And you may feel ready just to release. You'll get a little signal sometimes that's sort of, if you haven't already, to release the middle fingers from the wrists. You might want to just give them a little roll out. You can keep holding for a bit longer, staying with this for as long as you need. It's not always a more is better situation. It sort of reaches a point where enough is enough, and that usually happens within about 2 to 5 minutes for those points on the fingers on the source points. And you might want to just stay with the breath and stay, especially if you're feeling a lot of emotion come up. You might want to just give yourself this time and space to feel it and move through it without resistance. Or you might want to just let this go and move on with your day. So I hope you've found this practice useful, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Thank you for watching.